The smell of roasting turkey filled the Davidson family estate as I carefully arranged my contribution to Thanksgiving dinner, a simple pumpkin pie I'd made from scratch. My hands were steady despite the condescending looks from my husband's family, who'd gathered in their usual formation around the marble kitchen island, ready for their annual performance of Let's Mock Sophia's life choices. Still playing with your little computers? My brother-in-law Richard laughed, swirling his third glass of expensive bourbon. When are you going to get a real job like the rest of us? I smiled politely, the same practiced smile I'd perfected over 7 years of marriage to James. Richard was the family's golden boy, a corporate lawyer who never missed an opportunity to remind everyone about his partnership at Fletcher Associates. His wife, Patricia, nodded along, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light as she gestured dismissively toward me. It's called cybersecurity, I said quietly, returning to my pie, and it's not really playing. Oh, we know. My mother-in-law Margaret interrupted, waving her hand like she was swatting away a fly. You fix people's passwords and install antivirus software. Very practical. James, my husband, stood by the window checking his phone, offering no defense. He'd long ago learned that challenging his family's narrative about my cute little tech hobby only led to longer lectures about family expectations and social standing. At least she's trying. My sister-in-law Catherine chimed in with false sympathy. Not everyone can be a surgeon. She never missed a chance to mention her medical degree, even when passing the salt. Or a partner at a law firm, Richard added. Or marry one, Patricia smirked, touching Richard's arm. The conversation was following its usual script. Next would come the suggestions about proper careers, followed by hints about when James and I would have children, because surely that would give me something meaningful to do with my time. I was saved from the next round by my father-in-law Charles, who entered carrying another bottle of wine. Ladies, gentlemen, shall we move to the dining room? The turkey should be ready soon. As everyone filed out, I heard the distinct sound of heavy vehicles approaching. The Davidson estate was located on a private road, and unexpected visitors were rare, especially on Thanksgiving. Through the kitchen window, I watched 3 black SUVs with government plates pull up the circular driveway. My phone buzzed. A message from General Morrison, ETA 2 minutes. Apologies for the holiday interruption. National security doesn't take days off. I typed back quickly, understood. I'll be ready. Sophia, Margaret's voice carried from the dining room, stop dawdling with your phone. It's family time. I took a deep breath and walked to the dining room, where everyone was settling into their assigned seats. The same seats we'd had for 7 years, with me at the far end, between the children's table and the kitchen door, convenient for fetching things, as Margaret liked to say. Before we sit, I said, remaining standing, I should mention I'll need to leave shortly. Richard snorted. What? Someone's Wi-Fi emergency? Can't they restart their router themselves? The doorbell rang, 3 precise chimes that seemed to echo through the massive house. I'll get it, I said, but Charles was already moving toward the foyer, muttering about solicitors working on holidays. I heard his voice change from irritation to confusion. Yes, she's here, right this way. 3 figures in dark suits entered the dining room with Charles trailing behind, looking stunned. The lead agent, a woman with steel gray hair and sharp eyes, scanned the room before focusing on me. Ms. Davidson? I'm Agent Sarah Chen from the Department of Defense. The Pentagon is ready for your briefing. The secretary is waiting. The room went absolutely silent. Richard's bourbon glass stopped halfway to his lips. Margaret's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Briefing? James finally found his voice. What briefing? Agent Chen's expression didn't change. That's classified, sir. Ms. Davidson, we need to leave immediately. The situation in Beijing has escalated. I nodded, already mentally shifting into work mode. I'll need 5 minutes to grab my equipment. Beijing? Catherine whispered. What situation? I'm sorry, I said, addressing the room but looking at James. I can't discuss it. National security protocols. Richard let out a laugh that sounded more like a cough. This is a joke, right? Sophia doesn't, she fixes computers. Agent Chen turned her cool gaze on him. Ms. Davidson is one of the country's leading experts in cyber warfare and international digital infrastructure protection. She's been consulting with us for 3 years. 3 years? James stood up, his face a mixture of confusion and something that might have been hurt. Sophia? I met his eyes. You never asked what I actually did. None of you did, you just assumed. The equipment. Ms. Davidson? Agent Chen prompted. In my car, I replied, the briefcase in the trunk. She nodded to one of the other agents, who immediately left, presumably to retrieve it. Patricia found her voice. But she makes $50,000 a year. She drives a Honda. Actually, I said, pulling on my coat, I charge the Department of Defense $5,000 per hour for emergency consultations. And I like my Honda. It's reliable. The turkey chose that moment to timer ding in the kitchen, but nobody moved. $5,000 an hour? Richard's voice cracked. The corporate lawyer who loved to brag about his $500 hourly rate looked physically ill. The Beijing situation involves a potential breach of Allied defense networks, Agent Chen continued, clearly growing impatient. Ms. Davidson designed the protective protocols. She's the only one who can implement the countermeasures. Margaret sank into her chair. Protective protocols? I created an AI-driven defense system for NATO's digital infrastructure, I explained, checking my phone as updates flooded in. Someone's attempting to breach it. If they succeed, they'll have access to classified military communications across 30 countries. Your briefcase, ma'am, the agent returned, handing me the titanium case that contained my custom-built portable workstation. Thank you. I turned back to the stunned family. I'm sorry about dinner. This shouldn't take more than 8 or 9 hours. Save me some pie? 8 or 9 hours? James stepped forward. Sophia, what is happening? What haven't you told me? I paused at the doorway, finally letting 7 years of frustration color my voice. I told you, James, every time I tried to explain my work, you'd pat my hand and change the subject. When I got commended by the Pentagon last year, you said that's nice, honey, and asked if I could debug your mother's iPad. When I testified before Congress about cybersecurity threats, you were too busy to watch because Richard had a golf tournament. You testified before Congress? Charles whispered. Closed session. Senate Intelligence Committee. I softened my tone slightly. I have the transcripts in my office at home. Redacted. Of course. Agent Chen touched her earpiece. Ma'am, the secretary is asking for an ETA. Tell him 15 minutes. I looked around the room one last time. My husband's family, who'd spent 7 years treating me like the help, finally seeing me for the first time. James, we'll talk when I get home. Really talk. Richard, apparently unable to process his world realigning, blurted out, but you can't just leave. It's Thanksgiving. Actually, Agent Chen interjected with the slightest hint of amusement. When national security is at stake, she can. She has alpha-level clearance. She could commandeer this entire house if necessary. That's when the turkey slid off Richard's plate, hitting the Persian rug with a wet thud. He didn't even notice. As I walked toward the door, Margaret called out weakly, When will you be back? When Beijing stops trying to start World War III, I replied, hopefully before the pie gets cold. The last thing I heard as the agents escorted me to the waiting SUV was Catherine's stunned voice. Did she just say World War III? The lead SUV's interior was a mobile command center, screens flickering with real-time data from around the globe. Agent Chen handed me a secure tablet as we pulled away from the estate. The breach attempt started 40 minutes ago, she briefed me. They're using a variant of the Shadowbyte code, but modified. Your prediction algorithms caught it, but barely. I was already analyzing the attack patterns. It's not Shadowbyte. It's something new. See these recursive loops? Someone's been studying our defenses. My fingers flew across the tablet, pulling up defensive protocols I designed but hoped never to use. We need to implement Cerberus immediately. The secretary wants options, Chen said. The secretary will get one option. Let me work. I plugged my briefcase system into the SUV's network, and get me a direct line to Admiral Foster at Cyber Command. If this is what I think it is, we have maybe 90 minutes before they crack the outer shell. As we sped toward the regional command center, I thought about the family I'd left behind, sitting in their dining room with cooling food and shattered assumptions. Part of me felt guilty for the dramatic exit, but a larger part felt free. 7 years of Sophia and her little computer hobby. 7 years of being excluded from conversations about important careers. 7 years of smiling while they dismissed my work as playing with passwords. My phone buzzed. A text from James. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please be safe. We need to talk when you get home. Another from Richard. I didn't know. None of us knew. And surprisingly, one from Margaret. The news just interrupted programming. They're saying someone saved NATO. Was that you? I turned off the personal phone and focused on the screens showing cascading attack vectors across global defense networks. Someone in Beijing was trying to reshape the world's power structure with code and algorithms. They'd studied our defenses for months, maybe years. waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They'd chosen Thanksgiving, assuming American response would be slow. They hadn't counted on me already being angry and ready to fight. "Ma'am?" Agent Chen noticed my expression. "Everything all right?" "Perfect," I said, as my fingers danced across keyboards and the first of my countermeasures deployed. "Let's save the world, I have pie waiting." By the time we reached the command center, I'd already isolated the breach attempt and began implementing countermeasures. The attack was sophisticated, whoever designed it had intimate knowledge of our defense protocols. That narrowed the suspects considerably. Inside the command center, General Morrison waited with his staff. The main screen showed a world map lit up like a Christmas tree, red dots indicating attempted breaches across Allied networks. "Davidson," he greeted me with visible relief. "Thank God. How bad is it?" "Bad, but manageable," I replied, taking my position at the primary workstation. "They're not trying to breach the entire network. This is targeted, they're after something specific." "What?" I pulled up the attack algorithms, highlighting the pattern everyone else had missed. "The submarine communication protocols. They're trying to access our submarine fleet positions." The room went cold. Nuclear submarines were the ultimate stealth weapons, their locations the most closely guarded secrets in military intelligence. "Can they do it?" Morrison asked quietly. "Not if I can help it." I initiated Cerberus, my most aggressive defensive protocol. "But General, this isn't random. Someone leaked our infrastructure map. This attack knows exactly where to hit." The next 4 hours were a blur of code, countermeasures, and digital warfare. Every time I blocked an attack vector, 3 more appeared. Whoever was on the other side was good, very good. But they'd made one mistake: they'd studied our old defenses, not anticipating the upgrades I'd implemented just 2 weeks ago. "Got you," I whispered, finally identifying the source code signature. My fingers flew across the keyboard, building a cage of algorithms around the attacker's position. "General, I've isolated their access point. Beijing, just as we suspected, but routed through Prague and Johannesburg first." "Can you trace the actual operator?" "Already did. I pulled up the data, and you're not going to like it. The code signature matches Chen Wei. He used to work for us. Cyber Command, left 2 years ago." Morrison's face darkened. "I remember him. Said he could make more money in private sector. Looks like he found a different employer." I initiated the final lockdown sequence. "But here's the good news. I just trapped him in his own code. He can't withdraw without revealing his entire network." "Do it." I executed the trap. Within seconds, data flooded our screens, not just the current attack, but months of preparation, financial transfers, and most importantly, the names of everyone involved. "Sir," one of the analysts called out, "State Department is going to want to see this. We've got government officials, tech executives. This is huge." I leaned back in my chair for the first time in hours, exhaustion hitting me like a wave. "The submarine protocols are secure. I patched the vulnerabilities and added new encryption layers. It'll take them years to even attempt another breach." Morrison placed a hand on my shoulder. "Outstanding work, Davidson. The president will want to thank you personally. Maybe after Thanksgiving dinner?" I managed a tired smile. "I did promise to be home for pie." He chuckled. "Agent Chen will drive you back. And Davidson, next time your in-laws give you grief about your hobby, you have my permission to tell them exactly what you do." "They know now," I said, gathering my equipment. That might have been the most shocking part of their day. The ride back was quieter, dawn breaking over the horizon as we approached the Davidson estate. The other SUVs had stayed behind, but Chen insisted on escorting me to the door. "Thank you," I told her as we pulled up, "for the dramatic entrance. You didn't have to mention the clearance level." She smiled, the first human expression I'd seen from her. "My sister-in-law is a corporate lawyer too. I understand the frustration." The house was quiet as I entered, but not empty. James sat in the living room, still in his Thanksgiving clothes, surrounded by tablets and printouts. He looked up as I came in, his face a mixture of awe and shame. "I've been reading," he said quietly, "everything I could find. The congressional testimony, the Pentagon commendations, the papers you've published. Sophia, I'm an idiot." I sat beside him, exhaustion making me more honest than usual. "You're not an idiot. You just never saw me. None of you did." "Mom's been crying," he admitted. "Richard threw up, twice. Catherine called her hospital to verify that cybersecurity experts can really make that much money. And my father, he's been in his study reading about cyber warfare for hours." "And you?" He took my hand. "I'm trying to understand how I missed this. How I lived with you for 7 years and never realized I was married to a genius who protects our country. You never asked, I said simply. Every time I tried to tell you, someone would interrupt with a story about their real job, and you'd let them. I know, God, I know. He squeezed my hand. I failed you, we all did, but if you'll let me, I'd like to actually know you now, the real you. I was too tired to have this conversation properly, but something in his voice gave me hope. The real me needs sleep. And pie, is there any left? Mom saved you 3 pieces, and the entire turkey. No one had much appetite after you left. He paused. Sophia? That thing about World War III. Prevented, I assured him. For now, that's what I do, James. I prevent digital wars that could become real wars. I protect infrastructure that keeps millions safe. I'm not playing with computers, I'm playing chess with people who want to destroy our way of life. He nodded slowly. And you're winning? So far. I stood, heading for the kitchen and that promised pie, but it's exhausting doing it while people pat me on the head and ask when I'm getting a real job. That stops now, he said firmly. No more condescension, no more assumptions. I want to know everything, what you do, how you do it, why you chose this career, everything. I found the pie in the refrigerator, along with a note from Margaret. I'm sorry, we're all sorry, please forgive us, Mom. It's a start, I told James, who'd followed me into the kitchen. But respect isn't just about knowing what I do, it's about valuing who I am. I know, and I want to learn. He watched as I cut a generous slice of pie. Can I ask one thing? Why didn't you tell us sooner? Why let us think? I took a bite of pie, considering my answer, because I shouldn't have had to prove my worth with clearance levels and hourly rates. My work should have mattered because it mattered to me, not because it impresses others. He absorbed that quietly while I ate. Finally, he asked, what happens now? Now? I smiled tiredly. Now I finish this pie, sleep for 12 hours, and tomorrow we have that talk, the real one, where you listen instead of assuming, where your family sees me as a person, not just an extension of you. And if they can't? I met his eyes directly. Then we have bigger problems than my job title. The sun was fully up now, painting the kitchen golden. Somewhere in Beijing, Chen Wei was being arrested. Somewhere in Washington, officials were implementing my recommendations. And here in this kitchen, my husband was finally seeing me. It wasn't the Thanksgiving any of us had planned, but maybe it was the one we needed. James, I said as he walked me to our bedroom. Yeah? Next year, I'm hosting Thanksgiving, and if anyone makes one comment about my hobby, I'm showing them the classified files. He laughed, the tension finally breaking. Deal, though after today, I don't think anyone will ever underestimate you again. As I finally crawled into bed, I thought about Richard's dropped turkey, Margaret's tears, and Catherine's frantic Googling. They'd learned in one dramatic moment what they could have known all along if they'd just asked, just listened, just seen me as more than James's wife who plays with computers. My phone buzzed one last time. General Morrison, rest up. The president wants to meet Monday. And Davidson? Well done. I turned off the phone and closed my eyes. Somewhere, my algorithms were still protecting the world, but for now, I was just Sophia Davidson, tired woman who'd saved the world and made it home for pie. And that was enough.